right, here we go. Find the inverse of each function. Okay, so in this style of problem, I'm going to list the steps. I'm going to list the inverse steps and then write the inverse. In this problem, x is here. So the first step would be 2 to the power. What does Miss Rice put for that? Does she put an x there? Or she does, she puts 2 to the x? Oh, okay. Okay, so the first step would be 2 to the power, and the second step would be -8. Okay, and then for inverses, you want to undo the last thing first. So add 8. And then what is the inverse of 2 to the power? Log base 2. Great. Making sure to use my inverse notation. Y inverse is, and I noticed that I'm going to have a log 2 in my steps. So I like to put my x that I start with kind of over a little bit. But the first step is adding 8. And then the second step is log base 2 of everything I had written down before. Okay, number 2, same thing. X is over here inside the parentheses first, so times 3. Second step is log base 2. Okay, I want to undo this first, so that's 2 to the power. And then undo this, divide by 3. Inverse notation. Okay, now I know that my first step is going to be 2 to the power, so I'm going to put my x up in the exponent and do that 2 to the power. And then divide 3 on everything. And that's not really that pretty, so I'm going to make it a little prettier. About number 1 or 2 before I move on. Those are pretty okay? Okay. Now we're going to move on to expand and condense. And in these problems, we need to remember that logs are exponents, so they behave like exponent rules. And what I notice in number 3 is this operation is division. When you divide exponents, what do you really do to the numbers? Subtract, right. So I'm going to expand this into 2 logs with subtraction. So log of base 3 of x squared. And just a quick note, you can put the x squared in parentheses if you want to. You don't have to. Either way is fine. Minus log base 3 of y to the 5. Okay, and then I have one more step. It's called the power property of logarithms. I take the exponents and put those in front. 2 times log base 3 of x. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another color. And I'm going to show that power property. Minus 5 log base 3 of y. Okay, now number 4 is the same problem but backwards. So we look at this, we look at this, these look very similar, and we want to get it back to looking something like this. So the first thing I noticed is that the last thing I did was move the exponents. So I'm going to make myself a little note here. I'm going to put the exponents back for my first step. And then I look at the operation in the middle, and when I'm adding exponents, I'm really multiplying. So I condense this to 1 log with multiplication, and you can leave your answer like that. You do not have to put parentheses there. I don't know, felt right. Any questions about 3 or 4 before I move on? Are you sure? Okay. Okay. The whole point of those two problems is to be able to do problems like 5 and 6. So, and really in equations, we condense pretty much every time. In calculus, there will be times when you need to expand. For math 3, most of the time it's condensing. So on number 5, for problems like these two, I ask myself 2 questions. First thing I do is I examine the operation in the problem. This one is adding, which means it's multiplication. So I condense. And then after I condense, I ask myself, is this a situation where I need to do the loop-de-loop, or is it a situation where I can cross out the logs? What's this one? Loop-de-loop or cross out? Cross out. Okay. Okay, now this problem is not done. There's a bit of directions missing. Anybody know the directions that are missing from this problem? You guys know an annoying step that you have to do at the end of every log equation? You have to check them for extraneous solutions. Okay, so I do this on the calculator. Grab a calculator. If you don't have one, go ahead and get up and go grab one. They're over there along the window. Okay, great. Next question. Do you guys know how to do log base in the calculator? Do you know where it's located, what buttons to press? Okay, so you hit the math button. Now I'm lazy, so I'll scroll up instead of down because, again, I'm just lazy. And I'm going back to the original problem. So log base 8 of 3 plus log base 8 of 3 times, and then I'm going to type 73/9, and I left it a fraction because I want it to be exact, because I'm thinking 73/9 is going to be a terrible decimal. And when I hit enter here, it's not going to mean a whole lot to me at first. So I have log base 8 of 3 plus log base 8 of 3x. And it's not going to mean a lot to me at first, but I want it to equal this. So I'm going to do this side. And hoping this is the moment of truth that when I hit enter, those two things will be the same. Yay. And then down here, I'm going to write 2.06 equals 2.06, check. And you might say, do I have to show that last part? Do I have to show that it worked? And the answer is no, but if there is one that does not work and you don't have it crossed out, you will get that wrong. So I just do this as force of habit, just to get myself into the routine. Okay, let's go over to this guy. All right, so step 1, operation is subtraction, which condenses to division. And the first term is the numerator, and the second term is the denominator. And you can put that in parentheses if you want. You can not put it in parentheses if you want. It's up to you. Kind of just depends on like your handwriting and your confidence. Okay, now I ask myself, do I have to do the loop-de-loop or cross out the logs? This one's loop-de-loop because there's not a log over here to cross out. Four to the 1 equals x plus 4 over x. And then you have options from here. I like to put this the side with a whole number or anything that's just by itself over 1 and cross multiply. So 4 to the 1 is 4. 4 times x is 4x. 1 times x plus 4 is x plus 4. Minus x. Okay, and I've got another repeating decimal. I see that you guys are already taking off on the check. You're great. Thank you so much. Log base 4 of 4 thirds plus 4 minus log base 4 of 4 thirds. Now this one's more satisfying because when I hit the enter button, I want it to equal 1. Yes. So I put 1 equals 1, check. Okay, now I don't know, you guys can tell me, do you know how it looks in the calculator when you get an extraneous solution? Nobody knows? I'm sure you do. Yeah, it says not real. It's like an error in the calculator. And all you have to do is just lightly cross out that that number in your work, and you can box the other one. If that works. Sometimes they both don't work though. Sometimes both of them work. There's no rule. I'm sorry. I wish if I could tell you a rule that worked, I would, but unfortunately you have to just check them. But do you guys already do like the lightly cross out and then box the ones that work? Okay, just checking. Okay, any questions about 5 and 6? Okay, great. Okay, number 7. This is the spiciest that these problems would ever get. This is like it's got every single possible add-on that we could do. Okay. It's really confusing. But what I like to do is I like to think about it being this instead. So I just take this whole big confusing dealio and I change it to X in my mind and I think, okay, let's pretend I'm in math 1 and I have this problem instead of this one. What would I do first? Add 5, right? Okay, same thing applies here. So add 5. Okay, then back in math 1 land, after I added 5, I would divide by -10. Okay, and now I have a base, an exponent, and a constant. This is the moment when I can log both sides. Now I'm going to use the power property of logarithms and bring the exponent in front. And I'm going to put it in parentheses specifically this time. I like to protect it from everything else because it's its own thing. Okay. Now I'm hoping that she does the same thing that I do. I'm not really sure, but I like to get a decimal for my paper, but I'll leave the full that I like to round on my paper, but leave the full decimal in the calculator. So let me show you what I mean. So first I go log 7.8 divided by log 14. And in the directions, it says 10,000, which is 4 decimal places. So 10K minus 6 equals 0.7784. Okay, but what I mean by that is I'm going to leave the decimal in the calculator going for being the most precise. I'm not going to round in the calculator, but I am lazy, so I'm going to round here. Add 6. Okay, now if I was doing a test or quiz and I was feeling spicy, I would type the original problem back in to check this, but I would use this number in the calculator. So -10 times 14 to the 10 times that -6 -5. Pretty close. I would feel confident leaving my test if it was like that. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And these you really don't have to check them. I just like to because I like to get 100% on things. Okay. Moving over to number 8. So I know Miss Rice told you about pre-calc doing the system method, but I am a lover of the table method. So I'm going to do table method. If you love system method, please do system method. I really don't care. But table method's so much easier. Okay, anyway, so first thing I do is undo the asymptote on the y's. The asymptote is -11, so I'm going to add 11 to both of the y values. I'm going to shift that back up 11. Okay, make my table. I'm a little nervous about the decimals on this problem. I feel like it's going to be bad, but I'm not sure. I feel like it's going to be bad, but then I feel like it's super specific, so it might be good. I don't know. Okay, so I undid the asymptote. I made the table. Now I need to count how many B's it takes to get from here to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 19.727272 B to the fourth equals 53.24. Okay, divide first. Okay, do you guys know how to find the fourth root in the calculator? It's in the math menu. But I suggest that you type the 4 first. So I'm going to hit 4, math, and then go down to the X root and it will put the little 4 in there for me. And then I'm going to scroll up to highlight this and then hit enter to paste it in because I'm just lazy. Yeah, it wasn't good, was it? I was really hoping that it was going to be like a kind of nice number, but it's not. Okay, now how do I get A? A is right here. So I multiply it by it one time, right? And there's final answer. Do you guys all know that if you need to go backwards to zero, that you divide to go backwards up the table and multiply those down the coefficient? Okay, now we have to do triangles. Okay, so these problems are very specific. You only have to solve for one thing. You don't have to solve the whole triangle, which is great news. You do have to decide if it's log sines or log cosines. There are two different setups for triangles that require log cosines. Do you guys know what those are? Type change. Side angle side and side side side. Okay, so we have to look at the original problem and decide if we have side angle side or side side side. And this one happens to be angle side angle, which is not one of those two, so we do law of sines. It says find xy, so I'm gonna put a little baby z here. So with geometry, the correct notation is that the lowercase is across from the capital of that point. Okay, so I'm going to make a little arrows. So 21 degrees goes with the z, and x degrees goes with the 27, but I have to get the x degrees with triangle angle sum. So right here, I'm going to say 180 minus 133 minus 21. $26. This triangle's so little. Okay, law of sines. Law of sines says the sine of an angle over the side across from it equals the sine of another angle over the side across from that. Okay. And then cross multiply z times sine 26 equals 27 times sine 21 Divide to get z by itself. And then I say something kind of silly. It's from a comedy skit, but I say type this in one fell swoop. So what I mean by that is type this all in at one time. 27 sine 21 divided by sine 26. And it said round to the nearest tenth, so z equals 22.1 feet. Now here's a fun question. What if you're working on this problem and you type that in and you get a radically different answer than what I got or the answer he got? What do you think might have gone wrong? Especially, let me give you a hint. If you borrowed a calculator. Yeah, so you guys have to check these before you do them to make sure that they're in degree mode. Otherwise, you're gonna get really weird answers. And the problem is sometimes you don't even realize that it's a weird answer, unless you're like looking at the key. So just make a habit making sure that it's in degree mode first. Okay. Number 10 says find the measure of angle A. That's going to be here. Is this side angle side or side side side? Nope. Okay. So my proportion's going to go like this. It's law of sines again. 86 degrees goes with the 20. And 80 degrees goes with the 10. Sine of 86 degrees over 20 equals sine of A degrees over 10. Okay, cross multiply. Okay, and then to undo sine, I'm going to do sine inverse. I'm not going to show it on both sides, but I am going to sine inverse both sides. And again, type this in one fell swoop, which means all at once. Sine inverse 10 times sine 86 divided by 20. Kind of unsatisfying, 29.9 degrees. I was kind of hoping that that would round to 30, but it does not. Okay, so we did law of sines, find a side. We did law of sines, find an angle. This one says find HK, which is over here, and I'm going to put little p there. Is this side, angle, side, or side, side, side? This one is side, angle, side, which means that you need to use law of cosines. Law of cosines is intimidating looking, but it's actually easy, at least to find a side. The other one, this one's a little bit harder. Okay, so law of cosines goes like this. You start with the side across from the angle that you have every time. E squared equals side squared plus side squared minus 2 times side cosine of the angle between. (28 squared plus 29 squared minus 2 times 28 times 29 cosine 106. Okay, square root both sides. But again, I don't round in the calculator. (45.5 meters). Wow, gave you a lot of space for that problem. Okay, number 12. What setup is this one? This is my favorite. Easiest to see. Side, side, side. And I find with problems like this, it's best to mark the angle that they're asking you to find. So it says find measure of angle A. So I mark A. And that tells me that I need to use the 13 as my first side. Okay, so 13 squared equals 20 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 20 times 23 cosine of angle A. Okay, now on this problem, where students mess up the most is order of operations. So I want you guys to put little branches right here to group those two together. And put little branches right there to group those two together. So 13 squared is 169. 20 squared plus 23 squared is 929 minus 2 times 20 times 23. And it's really tempting to subtract this, but you can't. Those are not like terms. So what I like to do is rescue the 929 out of there before I do something dumb. So get that right out of there. And I just made them both positive. You don't have to do that. You can leave them both negative if you want to, but in the calculator, I don't want to type the negatives. So I made them both positive. Cosine inverse both sides. Okay, last problem. Find the area of each triangle to the nearest tenth. This is the side angle side area formula. Area equals 1/2 side times side times sine of the angle between. $42.4 yards. Okay, when you're ready, can you guys please flip to the stamp sheet side? Okay. We just did this today. Tonight's homework is the review assignment, and it's also tomorrow night's homework. And it's due on Thursday morning before the test. We're going to stamp you before you take your test. Actually, I believe that we're gonna have you turn in your packet with the review assignment, Jen. Any questions about that? Okay, now, do you guys know what your test topics are and what you're allowed to use? Okay, let me show you. Not that. Hold on. One second. Okay. Your next test is on the block day, either Wednesday or Thursday. You guys have your Thursday morning. For your test, you can use the front and back of the 3x5 note cards. I put those on the tables. Those are for you guys to take those. And a calculator. You know, card must be handwritten by you and will be collected with your test. Topics include, you guys know how the tests work. The first two are multiple choice and then like the 3 points and then 5 points. She and I use the same exact test, so there's nothing different there. The multiple choice ones are condensing and expanding a logarithm and log cosine. The two middle problems, the 3-point one, writing an exponential with an asymptote not at y equals 0. I do table method, you can do system method, just so you know what that means. Log signs inside angle side area formula. And then the two big questions, solving log and exponential equations, writing the inverse of a log or exponential and sketching the graphs. You guys know what all those words mean and what I'm referring to here. And when I say writing the inverse of a log or exponential and sketching the graph, I literally copied and pasted that straight off the team quiz, and I just changed the numbers. So study that bit, that last one on the team quiz and the 4 on the back. It looks exactly the same, by the way. I just copied it and pasted it. Okay. Note, if you miss the test and don't make it up, then it becomes a 0, but your file replaces it. So just so you know. Okay, tomorrow. Did she talk to you about where you're going tomorrow? Okay. So here's the thing. I know you guys already know this. We have 3 classes and 2 teachers. And we're trying really, really hard. I hope you guys feel the love that we've been trying really hard to make sure that you have everything that you need. Miss Rice, because she's the most amazing human being ever, is going to take your class and pre-calc at the same time in room L116. Do you guys know where room L116 is? It's the one right next to the library in that like hallway right there. She's gonna try to help all 60 of you at once. She's awesome, I know. So you're gonna be working on the team test. She's gonna have the key down there posted just like your normal team test day. But pre-calc will be sitting on the other side of the room so they can ask her questions too. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So tomorrow, if you remember, you can go straight to L116 instead of going up those horrible stairs. If you forget, there will be a sign on the door and my Math 1 class will be in here. So you'll be like, oh yeah, forgot. Because it's 24 hours from now. I don't know if I would remember. Anyway, do you guys have any questions for me about what you should be working on, expectations, test topics, when your test is, math? Anything I can do for you whatsoever? In this class, if I'm chatting and whatever, you guys are free to get your phones 3 minutes before the bell. So this period it would be 10:29. So if I don't say anything, I forget to say, go ahead and get your phones. You guys can get them at 10:29, but you can get them now.